All right. And we are live with the one and only. There are no other Ted Bakers, not to be mistaken for the designer.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So maybe there's one other Ted Baker, but it's not the same. It's not even close to the
Well,
same.
now you and I have argued over some fashion trends, I'll call them. Some that I think at a later date I will come back to address with you, because I'm telling you, we cannot have this. We cannot.
We had an open Twitter war about our fashion disputes.
Well, you were on Twitter. You were. I stay off Twitter.
Did it?
I only am on Twitter during the BET Awards, the Soul Train Awards, and if you've ever been a part of a Black Twitter kind of engagement, it's tough. But man, that is some entertainment. That is some entertainment. Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. So something to put on the to-do list is what I'm hearing.
I would go gently into that good night. Okay. I would. It's not something you dive in and go, oh, this ought to be fun. No. You don't want to go in with the fashion trends of which you were speaking. I see that happen to you, Sabrina. You know. So
today we're talking about the elephant in the room, and we kick off with Black Twitter. So this is why you're here.
That's why I'm here. That's because I will talk about Black Twitter. You know, there's a certain amount of freedom, I guess, when you get to my age about what you're just like, I've been there, done that. I'll talk about it, and if you don't like it, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I'm all right with it. Yeah. Okay.
So Ted, for the few people who don't know you, I mean, I didn't realize how long you were at IBM. I was thinking 14, 15 years. That's great. You candidly said you were there long enough to retire, which shocks me.
I did. I officially retired. I was able to retire from IBM. So I was there for 22 years of my life, I believe. It probably could be 23 based on when they started me. I started as an intern out of college.
Wow.
Yeah, boy, was my dad happy. He's like, go get a job, stay in that job forever, get a good pension, don't move.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah, check, Dad. Well, hey, but since we're talking about the elephant in the room, I mean, based on his experience, he was part of the Great Migration from the South to the North. And he left the South to go get educated. He got a job at Ford in Detroit. And that whole microcosm was a beautiful time in terms of Black culture because of the richness. You had all kinds of African Americans, Black folk, as I'll call them at that time, coming together, and it created, Motown, the food, the style, the fashion, everything. And so for his son to be educated and then go get a good job, a good paying job, stay in that job, get a pension, that was a big deal. He couldn't have been prouder of me. Yeah. I was kind of like, I think I want to do this. Yeah. So hey, there you go.
Well, I'm just shocked by that. And then you spend a good year, good amount of time, 8 years at Accenture. You're now at VMware, which is one of the elephants in the room we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about Broadcom today. In fact, we're probably going to start there.
Well, I'm sorry. I thought this whole thing was about elephants. And so I have a collection I wanted to share. So if you don't mind just taking a step back.
I'd love to. Okay,
no, I'm good. Okay.
We're also going to razz on you for your screen going in and out. So as long as we can see your face.
This is not my virtual background. And I think, if I may speak freely, my mother, if she's watching, there's no wooden spoon on the wall. So she knows this is not my I don't know what this is. I guess if it's not too much of a bother, I'll just be losing weight as we go through, which is a good
excellent. That is how that works. Excellent.
Thank you.
So before we dive into the elephants in the room, and we've got some good ones, some really good ones. This is how we both get canceled. This right here.
Oh, absolutely. They're calling for my African American card even as we speak. Yes.
Here we go. So are you ready to get into some?
Let's go. Look, I don't have a lot of time because I actually have some things
to do. Busy man.
Well, as you can see from my home, there's a need for some more modern furniture and probably a bearskin rug. I don't know.
But you might want some painting, and maybe
not go too far now. Okay. All right. Black Jesus is up there somewhere, but let's not go too far. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So we got Black Twitter, we got Black Jesus.
Yeah, I'll have to take you through all those at another time because we don't have time. We don't have time, and there's too much context you have to create around that too.
Too much.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So you've been at VMware for going on 2 years now. You're obviously part of the Broadcom acquisition. What can you tell us? This is one of the #1 elephants in the room. You see people blogging about it, posting about it, making videos about it. I mean, one quick Google search and you can get every type of feedback and angle. What can you tell us?
Well, so I think, you know, speaking as a as someone who's not privy to any of the inside information at all, say that. And secondly, I don't speak for the entire VMware company.
On behalf of Broadcom and VMware.
Well, you want the inside skinny, right? I have none. So I want to be frank about that. But I think, you know, when I work for other companies, you see these headlines, these bloggers, and 50% of it's right, 50% of it's wrong, and sometimes you're like, what are they doing, and who are they talking to? What I've found is that in this particular case, they've been very open with us in terms of here's what's going on, and I think how you interpret it is up to you. You know, initially you're like, holy, what happened? Right. And then you kind of get going and you're like, okay, I still have a job to do. Right. So I don't want to sound too Pollyannish, but what I'm finding is that I've got to the point where, you know, I'm trying to control what I can control, and that is selling to customers. I'm a regional sales director. I've got a region to manage. I'm trying to manage people, manage customers. That's about all I can do. Now, you know, if they come out tomorrow and say, hey, everybody whose name is Ted Baker is out, then I'll have something else to focus on. But haven't had anything like that. They've got, you know, websites, and every meeting we go to, they tell us here's the Brock. And what's kind of hilarious is they've gotten to the point where they've told us everything they have to tell us. They have no more to tell us. So when they tell us what they're going to tell us, we've already heard it before. So you know, if you really want to understand what's going on, read the SEC filings. That will tell you. You know, you can watch the daily talking heads. They've got pretty good insight. But there's some other stuff. I've even seen stuff on LinkedIn and other places. Oh, we're on LinkedIn, aren't we? I'm sorry. What I meant to say was Slinked-in, where you're just like, I don't know who this person's talking to, but you know.
That's not the reality. Yeah.
No, it's not. And I mean, yeah, I mean, let's think about what's happened in the past, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years in technology. Do you think anybody's going to speak out of school and get sued, you know, for something like, no. So even if there was some big secret, no one's talking. so with good reason, right? So I mean, the folks that are doing this deal all love money, and I'm sure they're not willing to pay a couple of billion just because they let something slip, you know. So.
Right. That's not likely. But what's interesting that, you know, I have heard is that Broadcom announced that they were going to, and I think this even came up at VMware Explorer, VM Explorer, that Broadcom was going to treat VMware differently. I know that they have a history and maybe have a reputation, but that this might look a little different. Have you heard anything like that?
Well, I think that what I've heard is that they're very impressed with our depth and breadth of customers. I think that if you look at even when we were a part of Dell, you know, the software business is a very good business, and we have tremendous market share. Just because, you know, every hypervisor and every virtual machine out there is probably VMware, but we're so much more than that. We're a cloud company. Yes. Right, and and what's funny is we've been a cloud company. Now we're just announcing it to everyone. We're a cloud. Thank you. Yes, kind of like me going to the barber. Hey, I'm bald. We know that. We've just been taking your money. So those things are now coming to the forefront. What I do hear customers ask is, will you guys continue to innovate? And the answer so far has been yes. We will continue to innovate and come out with new products, and we've been doing that. If you look over the past couple of months, and even before VMware Explore, we've been bringing out new products and new technology for our clients. So that's a good thing.
Very reassuring. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Was it really that reassuring? Because if it
was for me, I guess we'll find out. Drop in the comments below.
Because there's some people out there that, you know, if you have them on your show, they'll let you know. I'm just telling you, that's me. I'm old, and this is where you get to. Like I can only handle so much at a time.
Because it's the real deal. If you disagree with what Ted is saying, feel free to email him at. No,
hey, listen, whoa.
Just kidding.
Meanwhile, back at the Twitter ranch, no, I'm kidding. I don't care. They can
feel free to tweet me
questions. I'm just going to refer them to investor relations.
Excellent.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Feel free to tweet,
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So that's elephant number one that I wanted to talk
Okay.
about.
Boy,
We've
that
got
was
another elephant for you. All
Mhm.
right. Because
Okay.
we've got 20 minutes. We've got to pack in as much as we can.
All right. Well, let's pack a derm.
All right.
Wow,
So I've
that
been
was
doing this thing.
okay.
I've been doing this thing where I do things that scare me. I
Okay.
call it fear forward because I couldn't think of anything better than that. You probably
Okay.
could.
Okay.
And so I signed up for the Chicago Marathon. I've been doing all these speaking events. I wrote a couple big pieces. I sang in front of 10,000 people last weekend. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of crazy things that scare me. So let me ask you this. One of the things that scares me the most,
Mm-hmm.
and I've posted about this, which when I posted, I said, this is how I get canceled. And I really thought it, is this whole diversity conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this. We have gone through some of the most tumultuous times.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly have a history that we, can dive deep into that has not always been great. Mm-hmm. And yet we find that at least in the IT industry and elsewhere, you're getting a lot more conversations around diversity and equity and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And I find that I struggle with asking the most simple questions because sometimes I don't know how. And I think one of the elephants in the room that I would love to get your guidance on is how do we address diversity? I mean, you're an African-American man in tech. You've been in this industry for decades now. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to have like a little age plug in there or something like that.
No, ageism is something I'm over from a diversity perspective. Obviously, you're not, Sabrina. Therapy. No, go ahead. So I think I know where you're headed with this.
Right. Okay.
So extremely offended. I'm shutting down. No. So here's my thinking. And first thing I'm going to say is no African American speaks for all African Americans.
Thank you. Of course.
Okay. I mean, maybe Dr. J when he dunked on Landis in that Lakers series, but that's okay. I think what my sense is on diversity is I'm more a promoter of diversity of thought. Okay. I've gone from being the token in the room that, hey, thank God we got Ted here. Look, to being in settings where, as I mentioned before, I've gotten it from both sides, right? And so you kind of get to be sensitive to how we're sharing with people. And so what I've found is this: when you're talking about diversity. Yes, I know. When you're talking about diversity, I think there are a couple of things. One, context and relationship matter. So the relationship that you and I have is important. And then the context in which we're having our discussion around this matters. So you and I may be very close, but if we're having this discussion with a group of people, say my family, you're going to get a very different kind of insight into my culture and my world versus if you and I are sitting down having a cup of coffee, having the discussion, maybe a little different kind of question and answer. But it's about our relationship, because if I feel like you don't really respect me and you're asking these questions,
right,
then I'm not gonna, that's what you think, Sabrina? Well, thank you for asking that question. Let me get back to you next week. I mean, you're not going to get genuine answers. I'm going to give you the answers I think you deserve. So my thinking on diversity is I am grateful for the fact that we're all conscious of, cultures and all these different kind of criteria we've set up to put together the diversity boiling pot. But I think at the end of the day, what we really want is diversity of thought and being able to share our thoughts with one another. Because as a person of faith, my idea of diversity is that all of us have something to offer. All of us need to be able to bring that authentic self, because quite frankly, there's no other Ted Baker, there's no other Sabrina, there's no other, John, Susan, whoever you want. But if we can get that person, because that's who they were meant to be, the best out of them, that to me moves the needle. Yeah. It doesn't move the needle if we bring Ted in and we want him to be this this thing that we, you know,
Right.
you're not getting the best part of me.
Okay, so let me ask you a tough question because I
Okay.
don't know the answer, and you answer me when I ask tough questions. So that sounds good. How do you actually do it? So you're a regional director, you've got teams, you're in the you still have to actually sell something. You have to expand deals, you have to drive adoption, you have to, understand cross-domain conversations, speak to different profiles and personas, business problems, verticals. How do you do all of that in relation to having this diverse thought or diversity of thought team? How do you help people bring their authentic self, drive more diversity of thought while still doing the day to day?
So, well, so there, I think we tend to like want to get right in one lane and go, this is how, give me the answer, because this we
Yeah.
can only skate down here. Well, I mean, look, you've got a number of different measures, right? And a business is just kind of the place where this has come to fruition, but you're accountable for making your number. The diversity, component is maybe how you make your number, or hey, look what they did, how they approached those customers. The customers saw a different face of our company, and we were more effective because of it. But again, you're accountable for your number, right? I mean, if you think that going in and, I don't know, picking your favorite song because the song will work with these clients is going to sell something and it doesn't, well, we may still have a problem because you aren't making your number. And I think, you have to remember, work is not church, right? I mean, we're here to make money. We're here to sell the clients. That's don't get it twisted.
Right.
You know, because even I do, right? You're like, well, shoot, I thought we were a diverse company with all these wonderful. You're like, whoa, we got to make money, because if we don't make money, we can't have all this other stuff that we think is so great. So that's an accountability perspective that we have to keep in the midst of wanting to be this diverse, multicultural melting pot, if you will.
I could go on to this for
Well, then come on. Let's
I know, but I wanted to get to the next elephant.
Show. It's your show. It's your show. Why can't you just say we're doing a two-part special, limited miniseries with Ted Baker?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, because it's interesting. One of the things, and I've been fairly vocal about this, especially recently. It's one of my fear forwards. I was an immigrant, or am an immigrant. I moved here in second grade. We were extremely poor. When we first moved to the States, I lived in a car with my family. I mean, we were homeless. So to me, the idea of the American dream was always so big and so wonderful and meant so much to me. But my brain, and they've done studies after studies on this, my brain was developing differently as a very low income immigrant. I was still learning the language. I wasn't learning how to add or read or do all the things. And so I was learning at a different pace. Now, luckily in my life, I was able to catch up and even skip a few grades, but that's not always the case. And then when you add in things like continued poverty or lower education standards based on where you live, because that's what your family can afford, or not having parents who were so loving and caring, and families who go to Harvard and all these things, there is a notable disadvantage. They've done studies about this. It's not that they're not smarter. They were just at such a significant disadvantage. Their brain was thinking and learning differently physically.
Yeah, and there's studies for anybody who wants to around trauma, what that does to particularly younger people and their brain function. But let me just maybe focus in on, your journey through poverty. Whatever made you succeed, there are equal number of folks in all walks of life that find themselves at that same juncture, and they're some of the greatest contributors to our society in the entire world. And you find that people who are very successful quite often have these a chip on their shoulder, this burden they carry. And then there's some that don't have it, but something else draws them out. And I don't think we have to find a be all wherewithal, for our experience. And this is the diversity of thought. I think I can find things in your story that I can relate to. You know, the way that you talk about poverty, how you felt about it, how you internalized it, the drive that it created. Yeah, your brain was functioning differently. Well, you know, African Americans have similar traits where we go, you know, our brain functions differently in that we are able to communicate and sense things sometimes that other people in the same room are not able to do.
Right.
That's probably a bad example. But then there are other cultures, other who have similar attributes. And I think we have, that's why the diversity of thought is so important. You know, if you tell me, if I can kind of hear what you there, I can pick out things, you know, that is a reason that I can relate and then develop the relationship with Sabrina and create the context for us to share and begin to understand and work better together. I think there's something there, and I find it every time you're like, oh wow, that's your story. Okay, good. You know, versus, well, we're all here because, you know, this is diversity, and boy, I feel good about having. And it just never seems to make it all the way in. And there are some places where we've got to legislate it. I'm not going to call out any names, but you know, the genuine, you know, benefit of diversity really is accepting and understanding and just hearing more diversity of thought. Because then you realize that whether they're black, white, female, male, transgender, whatever, we do have some commonality, and we can even maybe bond a little bit over our common versus our differences, you know. And we're not all going to sing Kumbaya,
right?
Because I've had some of your cooking, and there's no. Just kidding. Sure, you're a very good cook. I'm sure.
I am not a very good cook. I will own that all day long. I have great fashion sense.
Huh?
You disagreed with that. I said I have a great fashion sense, and you've disagreed with that. So
look, there are blind people, and I mean this in every that know you have not a good fashion sense when it comes to the trends you were describing to me. So I'm
going to post pictures in the chat. I'm going to let everyone. I'm going to let this war continue.
No, please don't. You know, we see you now as this Horatio Alger story that we're all falling deeply for, and you're going to put that in the chat. People are going to go, oh, she's bougie. You know, let's not ruin what could be a stepping stone.
We'll keep it as is. Ironically, Forbes just quoted me on something around personal brand. So there you go.
Yeah, you then definitely don't put that.
Right, that's very funny that you bring that up.
Wow.
Well, Ted, we are even 2 minutes past, so we have to do a part 2 now. There's no way around it.
Right.
There's no way around it.
True.
You make me happy. You make me think. I appreciate you as a human. You let me ask questions that are embarrassing, that are scary, that, like I said, really get me thinking about things differently. And so thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting yourself out there. I can't wait to get canceled with you. It's going to be great.
The thing is, it's not going to bother me at all. It's not going to bother me at all. I have, I go by a higher calling. So
I have plans for this. Yeah.
Right. I'm not gonna let that worry me at all. You know,
well,
this will help someone out there, and maybe it'll make somebody else think, and that's really all I'm after. I'm sorry. I'm too old to be president. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm not too old to be president. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm a kid when it comes to that. I couldn't stand the scrutiny. I couldn't stand
Ted for president. Ted for president. Right.
And I'm not that nice to people. You know, I mean, Putin says something mean to me, I might blow him up. You know, because I'm too close to the button. I don't want.
And we end on nukes. I mean,
I'm going to. Thank you. Note, you know,
the last elephant in the room. Nuclear warfare. No, well, thank you, Ted. For those who want to know more about you, where can they find you? We know you can't find you on Twitter.
I'm on LinkedIn like everybody else. You know, under VMware if they still have me. In fact, I saw. I probably got a call going, Ted, please. You're done. You're done. Wait. So yeah, and I'm also I have a good friend who's really helped me do this. People want to have these conversations around, you know, what is your life like? You know, why is this way? Why did we go through the summer that we did in a safe kind of environment? I'm willing to have those conversations. You know, I mean, I'm no great orator, but I will tell you what I have gone through and what I felt, and you know, it's all I can do. If we can make a few connections, then that's good enough for me. Yeah.
All right. Until next time. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.